So I don't know about you, but I can't think clearly when my space is cluttered. So in today's world of one click, sometimes automatic shopping, it's very easy to get lost in the clutter in our surroundings. So as writers, we are constantly confronted with this challenge as our writing spaces can easily become cluttered and disorganized, making it difficult to be productive. However, having a clear space can have significant impact in our ability to write effectively and efficiently. So I want to talk about the difference between decluttering and organizing because a lot of people sometimes get that mixed up. But there actually is a difference. So decluttering refers to the process of getting rid of things that are no longer needed or wanted, where organizing typically comes second, and that involves finding a place for things that you choose to keep. Decluttering is seen as the first step toward organizing, as it helps create the space and room for the things that are truly important. However, organizing is also important to maintain that sense of order and prevent clutter from building up again. By taking the time to both declutter and organize, you can create a more peaceful and functioning space. So when our writing is cluttered and writing space is cluttered and disorganized, it can be difficult to concentrate and stay motivated. Now, on the other hand, a clear writing space can help us stay focused, avoid distractions, allowing us to write for longer periods of time without losing our train of thought. It can also help us feel more relaxed and calm, which can be particularly helpful for those struggling with writer's block. And it can also help us be more creative and come up with new and innovative ideas for our future projects if we're not so stressed out sitting down. So, how do we do this? Now, the first step is to assess your space. So, you want to take a look at your writing area and evaluate what items are taking up space and what is actually necessary. Now you can ask yourself questions such as, what items do I use regularly? Are there items here that I haven't used in a long time? Are there any broken or damaged items that are pretty much useless? And is there anything taking up space that sort of belongs elsewhere or can be moved elsewhere? Now, also identifying cluttered areas in your workspace is crucial to effectively decluttering. Now that can include your actual surface, where papers, books, pens, whatever can quickly pile up and take over your space. Bookshelves too, they can accumulate books and other things and take up valuable space on your shelf that you'd rather have other things. Drawers. So if you have a desk with drawers or something similar to this, where you have doors, it's easy to throw things behind something and then close it really quick and then not worry about it. But that can quickly lead to a cluttered and disorganized space. And also to looking at your wall spaces. If there are posters and pictures and other decorations that you sort of like, but not really, that can quickly become overwhelming visually if there's too much. Now, reflecting on the impact of clutter on your focus and productivity can also help motivate you to declutter. So think about how clutter affects your writing process. Does it make it difficult to concentrate? Do you waste time searching for necessary items? Does it add unnecessary stress to your writing routine? So by reflecting on the negative impact of clutter, you can create a stronger motivation to declutter and improve your writing space. Now, understanding the problem of clutter is crucial to finding your solutions. So take the time to think about why your writing space is so cluttered. Is it due to a lack of organization? Do you struggle with letting go of unnecessary items? Are you unsure where to start with decluttering? So this process that I'm going to talk about sort of touches on all of these problems. Once you get started, you'll be able to organize more efficiently since you aren't organizing things that you don't want and don't need. And if you're struggling to let things go, I'm going to help guide you on how to do just that. All right, so these are the steps to decluttering your space. So the first step is to gather your supplies. So what do you need? I recommend a trash bag, preferably not a clear one because you don't want to actually see the stuff you're throwing out. I have a child, and sometimes things that appear in the trash are suddenly the most important things in the world when they see it. So I recommend a black trash bag or any like a color bag. So I also recommend a cardboard box, any of your Amazon boxes laying around, or a different color bag for donations. And make sure it's donatable. So what does that mean? So you want to be sure to put your donations in a container that you're going to bring to a donation center. You don't want to have to put it in a nice box and then have to find another box. You want to make this as easy as possible. Also, you want to have some cleaning supplies too. So if you haven't cleaned your space in a while, you can clean it up as we're decluttering. So once you gather your supplies, what you want to do next is to clear the obvious trash. So this, when you're looking at trash, it's not my idea of what I think trash is on your space. It's very much, empty bottles that need to be recycled, wrappers, candy wrappers, food wrappers, crumpled up pieces of paper, things that are very obvious trash, you want to get rid of first. And that sort of will give you the motivation to start the ball rolling with your decluttering. So the next step after trash, and you may find more trash throughout this process, so be sure to keep that in mind. If there are any items that don't belong in your space, so say you have empty mugs that need to go to the kitchen, gather them and bring them to the kitchen sink, or even better, into your dishwasher if you have one. So don't wash them right now. You just want to bring them to the place that you can wash later on because we don't want to get distracted. Remember that. So I don't recommend making piles of things that are just going to clutter another part of your home. So if you find things that belong elsewhere, so say you have kids and there's toys on your desk or books that belong in your bookshelf, bring them there at that moment when you have them in your hand. That way, when you're done decluttering, you don't have a bunch of piles everywhere that you have to soon make decisions about. So, like I said, you may come across more trash. You already know what to do with it. And if you are looking at your space and uncertain if items belong or not, my next step will help you out. So, I am a huge fan of Dana K. White. This is her book, Decluttering at the Speed of Life. So she has these awesome decluttering questions. So the first question is, when you're looking at your space and you can't decide what to do with something, you want to think about, if I needed this item, where would I look for it? Not where should you look for it in, some idea of how an organized house looks. If I needed, say, this timer, where would I look for it first? If that is in my kitchen, I would go bring it to my kitchen because that's the first place that I would think to look for it. Now, say I have this timer and I'm like, I don't know. So the second question you can ask yourself is, if I needed this item, would it already occur to me that I had it? Now, if I said, yeah, I'd go back and find the place for it. But if I didn't, if I was like, oh, I didn't know I had this extra timer, you can probably make the decision to either, depending on the condition, you can donate it or trash it if it's broken. Because if I didn't know I had it, I probably would just go out and buy another one. So you want to make sure that you're asking yourself these questions so that you understand what you really need in your space. And then there's the obvious donations as well. So if there's things you've been meaning to donate, things that are in good condition, put them in your donate box. So the next step is to clean and organize. So once you've sorted all the items that belong in your space, if you have the time, clean it up a little bit, spray something down just to clear it all out, make it look clean, and then thoroughly put things back. So this is where that organization comes into play. So that way, when everything is organized, you can organize like items together. You can organize in a drawer if you don't like to see stuff on your desk. Knowing where everything is and how much you have is super important when it comes to decluttering. So you can also create zones. So you can create designated areas in your workspace for different purposes. For example, if you have a spot for your writing tools, a space for your reference books, your computer. So by putting everything into their zones, when something gets put down that's not in its zone, you know exactly where to put it. So those are sort of the steps that you can take when you're decluttering. And now I'm going to talk about some tips for success. So my first tip would be to start small. So decluttering can definitely feel overwhelming, especially if your writing space is cluttered. So I recommend start by choosing one area to declutter, such as your desk or your bookshelf, and set a timer. This timer actually does belong on my desk because I love using different timers. So look at your space, look at what time you have in general, and say, okay, I'm going to spend the next 15, 20 minutes decluttering. Set a timer. If you have a visual timer, set one on your phone. Use the A sound, the A device that I'm not going to say, and just be done when you're done. So once you've tackled one area, then move on to the next. So definitely start small. You can start small with the space and the amount of time just to ease into it. And typically I find that once I'm doing it, I'm motivated to keep going. You just don't want to spend all day doing it if you have other stuff to do. That's why I recommend the timer. So another step is to use the one in, one out rule. So once you have decluttered your space, consider implementing this. So this means for every new item you bring into the space, you must remove an old item. This will help prevent clutter from building up again. And the next step would be getting rid of unnecessary items, which we sort of discussed in the steps previously. But being really honest with yourself on what you actually need in your writing space. You want to get rid of items, trash that are broken, no longer useful, or simply taking up space. And then you want to donate items that are in good condition, but no longer serve a purpose in your writing space. All right, so my next tip would make it a habit to either declutter frequently or keep your writing space clean. Now, making it a habit and also having a decluttered space is an interesting thing, because when you start to bring things back in or you bring new things in, when you bring things into a clearer space, the clutter really sticks out at you. So definitely make it a habit that when you bring something into your space, organize it, put it where it belongs versus just scattered everywhere. So by following all of these steps and these tips, you can definitely create a more functional and clutter-free writing space that will help you stay productive. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you found this information helpful. And don't forget to check out my monthly workshop for more personalized guidance and support. And happy decluttering.